it's me. It's the one, the only Paul Francis. Welcome you to the Starfleet Universe On Call. And tonight we've got Drew Klenotic. Oh, hey, how you doing, Drew? We've got Dave. I'm wondering if Russ is hanging around or he's sleeping today. And of course we have with us Barry. How you doing, Barry?
Hey, I'm doing wonderful.
Great.
I am doing wonderful.
Great. Yeah, I'm trying to stream on YouTube, and that's just not working at the moment using OBS. So I'm not OBS or ODS? OBS, yeah, I had it right. It's not working tonight. I'm not sure why. I'll try to figure that out later. I totally forgot that they were canceling Hangouts for YouTube as of today. And their quick way of doing it is webcam. Well, webcam requires that you have a webcam for it to work. And guess what? I don't have a webcam. At least not on this machine. And mostly I don't want to record what my face. It's more interesting to see what's on my screen than what's on my face. In some cases, you don't want to see my face because you'll just see how tired I am. But this evening we were going to talk about the Hivers. I was not. Yeah. I announced a generic topic. I was just going to make a ships because I wasn't sure, Barry, if you were going to make it or not.
Yeah. I made it.
Oh, understood. You know, as you hadn't emailed me anything as prep, for it. So it's like, okay.
I'm sorry. I completely spaced this one out, and all of a sudden my alarm went off because I have a weekly alarm set off. It's like, oops.
Oh, snap.
Oh, snap. Yeah.
Well, that's fine. We'll go from there.
Yeah. All right. So I am quickly reviewing some of the stuff.
One thing when it comes to the tournament ship, did you actually have one of the any of the Hiver fighters with a Hiver or not?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Well, the Hiver ship without its fighters is not going to be viable.
Okay.
At all.
Okay, I wasn't sure because that's one thing I definitely was reading up about, which was the Hiver fighters, which are one of those really interesting fighters. Because
yes, they are.
Because they actually produce energy, but they don't have an energy allocation form per se.
Yeah, actually, they should. It's hang on a second. Let me look for. I'm just checking one thing here.
No problem.
I'm looking for them in the annexes.
Yeah, because I was reading through that. Okay, where is it? Oh, come on. Oh, there it is. Okay. Let's just do this and grab this. And it goes next door. Okay. Yeah, because, the interesting part is that on the discussion board, Steve Cole just, started up Module J3 on the discussion board.
Okay.
And one of the things he said, it was an automatic, in the auto reject file, fighters with shields. And what do Hiver's fighters have? Shields.
Yes, they do. Not much shields, but they do have shields.
Right. Oh, agreed.
And only if they raise them, which it actually takes quite a bit from.
Yeah, I forgot. That's one thing. Did not look at the SSD, so I don't know how much power that a normal Hiver fighter has.
5 points for the Sting 2. Here we go. So the Hiver.
Okay,
let's see, I'm in the master fighter.
Okay, the standard fighter, the first cycle, Barb 1, B1, possesses 4 energy points.
Yeah. Right, and the Barb 2 has 5 energy points.
That's what I didn't check. I'm not quite sure about it because I know that normally a head for a fighter is free, but with a Hiver,
Yes,
you can allocate.
You can pay. Yes, it can. Some of it's allocated, some of it's like reserve power. So the two, the Barb 2 has can use a point of power for a second head.
Right. I see it now, where it mentions that a fighter can use 1 point of energy to make an additional head above and beyond the free head normally allowed fighters, J4.12.
Yes.
And this cannot be done within a quarter turn of another head. And of course, cripple fighters can't head. Big surprise.
Right. Now the Barb fighter doesn't have the punch of a Hydron Stinger 2.
Right.
But what it does have is more range, and it is tougher. So it has 2 PW3s, and wide-angle phasers are they're not quite as powerful as a P3, and it only has 2 compared to the Gatling of the Stinger 2, and it only has 1 Sting torpedo instead of 2 fusion beams. But it can fire that Sting torpedo as an overload, but that's real difficult to get it to use. So it's not going to hit as hard as a Sting 2. But it and it has a shield if you use a point of power for that, and it's basically 1 point of reinforcement is what it works out to. But the Barb 2 can take 14 points of damage to kill it. So it's a lot tougher than a Sting 2, and you have 3 of them.
Oh.
Yeah. But the ship itself is very fragile. And it's not heavily armed. It has 4 PW1s, 4 PW3s, and 4 Sting torpedoes, which Sting torpedo, in some ways, is probably slightly better than a disruptor. But it's marginally better than a disruptor, in my opinion. But as I said, the ship has 4 P1s, 4 P3s, and they're weaker phasers than Alpha, and 4 of the Sting torps. But the inside of the ship, it's tiny. It's almost the same number of boxes as an Andro. There's not much inside. Yeah. Look at how thin that ship is. There ain't much to it. But and one thing I forgot to put on the ship is that it only takes a half a point for life support.
Okay.
1 point to raise your shields, a half a point for life support, turn mode A. Your het chances are basically your het roll is a 6. So it's every bit as maneuverable as an Orion.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah.
And probably has around the same amount of boxes from the sounds of it.
And maybe even a little less. There's not much to it.
Okay.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, geez. Just brought it up.
There's not much there. What's that?
Geez. Yeah. Geez. Got 9 hull boxes. Has 4 shuttles and 4 fighters.
3 fighters.
3 fighters. What's the movement cost on this sucker?
2/3.
2/3? 2/3?
Yeah.
You sure about that?
What's that?
Are you sure about
Might
that?
be a half. Well, the one which one are you looking at?
I'm looking at the one that's part of the client at the moment, which has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 14, total of 16 warp power, 6 APRs, and 4 impulse. Which I'm assuming that means it's 1/2 movement cost.
18, 19, 20. Movement cost is 2/3. Is that correct? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 18, 19, 20, 21, 20, 22 power. And 2/3 movement cost. So, but it has a lot of APR and impulse.
Okay. No, actually, the one I'm looking at says it has a movement cost of 0.5.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, it says notes on Hiver CA. Movement cost is 0.5. Shield cost is half plus half. Breakdown rating of 6. Has launched.
Maybe I'm looking.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm looking at the wrong one. I'm looking at the battle cruiser. Hang on. Hiver. There was a TBC and a TC.
Yeah, because actually one thing I did read, which
Oh,
was
okay,
basically
yeah,
a lot
TC.
of the ships are they're smaller basically
Yes.
for the same size class.
So the CA on the client it's a CA, only has 3 Sting torpedoes. And that one was a bit light.
Mm-hmm. I can believe that.
That one had 4 of the barbed fighters.
Right.
And I went to a battle cruiser version, which I created, but I guess I didn't. Is there a battle cruiser on the client?
That's an excellent question. Let me see if I have any Hivers. I don't remember. Yep, there's Hiver and battle cruiser right there.
I do have it.
Okay, and
so the bat.
Yep, I see that one. Which
okay, the battle cruiser, you get an extra Sting torpedo. 2 of the PW3s are not 360, but they are slightly worse arcs. So you gain 1 Sting torpedo, you gain a little bit of power, you gain a little bit of internals. It's more expensive to move, and you lose a Barb 2 fighter. But I don't know that we really played. I know we tried the CA, and that was just too fragile. The Barb 2 fighters are interesting, and I had a long back and forth with Steve Petrick about that Barb fighter and its power because of the way the rules were written. This was about 10 years ago that we had this discussion.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe 15 years ago. But you basically what happens is that you can use the power to increase the max possible speed of the fighter. But it doesn't, the acceleration is not based on that max speed. I read the rules really carefully and said, Steve, is this what you really meant? It's like, well, that's, just the way I'm reading the rules, if you interpret them exactly, this is what you're saying. I said, nope, rules are what the rules are. It's like, okay. So you've got this ship that if you put all that power into it, into movement, it can move 30. But you only have an accel of 7. So it takes you if you slow that, yeah. So if you slow down, you can't accelerate back up.
Right.
And the problem with the Barb is that it has to power its weapons.
Right.
So each PW3 shot takes a half a point of power. The Sting torpedoes take 2. It can be held for 1, or it can overload, although the Barb tube cannot hold an overload. But if it takes 4 points of power for an overload, and you only have 5 total.
No.
Yeah.
No. I'm reading this, and it says, unless specifically noted otherwise in their description, fighters may not overload Sting torpedoes.
Yeah, but the Barb 2, it does say in the description that it can overload it.
Okay.
Yeah. The Barb 2 is the only one that can.
Dang.
And, yeah. Well, okay, but it only has one of them compared to like a Stinger, which has 2 fusions.
Right.
And the Sting torpedo is not as powerful. Even an overloaded Sting torpedo is not as powerful as a fusion beam at point blank. And the Stinger 2 has 2 fusion beams. This only has 1. And if you fire an overloaded Sting torpedo out of this thing, and both your PW3s, you're doing less damage than a Stinger 2, and you're sucking on trying to get it rearmed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now the only good thing is that it's because it doesn't do as much damage, and it takes a lot more damage to kill it, and there's more of them. There's 3 instead of 2. They're more likely to actually get into range, and the Sting torpedoes have a better range, and PW3s actually have a better range than. So that's more of a standoff fighter. You know, it's not like a Sting 2 that has to close to point blank where, yeah, it's going to do damage, but it's going to die.
Right.
This one is designed to actually survive a little bit.
Right. Mario. And of course, actually, it's a weird one because of it basically is a mixture of fighter and a PF into a single unit. In that it's got weapons that it can recharge, that it can rearm, unlike with the hydrogen fighters where you've got so many charges that you have on the ship. After you use up those charges, they're gone. You have to go back to the ship to recharge them.
For the heavy weapons, but not for the phasers. The phasers it can fire every turn.
Right.
Yeah.
And Lord knows for the fusion fighters, getting close in, just keeping them close in with those phaser Gs. Ouch.
Oh yeah, if you can get a pair of Sting 2s to range 0 of any other ship, they can trash it.
Oh yeah. Have you ever seen that one picture of, I forgot how many
the D7?
No, yeah, D7, yeah, the fighters against the D7. It was kind of an advertisement of telling the Klingon commanders, when they say attack, tend to disagree and go the other way.
Yeah. Don't ignore the fighters. They will mess you up.
Oh, agreed. Agreed. And that's why most people, when they see the hydrogen fighters, they kill them immediately. And of course, for the Hivers, those fighters are kind of critical when it comes to the number of weapons, because without them, you only have what, a quarter of the weapons.
You have 4 Sting torpedoes, which can do more damage than a disruptor slightly.
Right.
You double overload it, but you don't have the power to double overload them. I mean, you might be able to double overload 1 or 2, but you can't do it to all of them.
Right.
The double overload takes 7 points of power to fire.
Dang, God, man. And given the Hiver ships
it doesn't have that kind of power.
Yes, exactly. To me, what it screams is that when you lose a Sting torpedo, don't repair it. Just take the additional power and instead of having 2 overloaded,
one of the others.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. So that is a nice thing about the Sting torpedo, is that you can do that. It is less efficient in double overload mode, and it has a max range of 4. But
and that could actually make a big difference, because some ships you don't want to come within range 4.
Right. But that ship is not going to be hitting very hard. And it can, even fresh, at range 1, it's going to get through somebody's shields and do a few internals.
Right. Which means that's not what you want to do. Dang on it, man. That makes...
Well, you let the fighters lead in.
Right.
And now the guy has a choice. I can fire at the fighters or I can fire at the ship. And it's actually a valid choice. It's not like I better not ignore those fighters. You could ignore those fighters and survive. But I don't know. One thing I'll say about battles with Hivers is they are not going to be long battles.
Wouldn't they be long battles?
Well, the ship is very delicate, and once the fighters are gone, it has nothing.
Oh, agreed. But in my mind, for the Hiver to win, it basically has to fly almost to a certain degree like the Andromedans, in that punch and run, because you don't have the internals to effectively do. And from you, the amount of damage that the ship can make is not that big. It really can't hit that hard. So that means you have to hit and run, and you do your best to try to keep out of your opponent's effective range. Really keep out, because you don't have much ship to talk about.
Yeah.
So
but
that means
that
means a longer battle is to your advantage.
Well, yes and no, because if you hit and run, the fighters can't run with you. They're not that fast.
What's their speeds?
14 base.
Okay, which is not bad.
But if you arm their weapons, you might use a point or 2 of power for increasing your speed. Now all of a sudden if you use 2 points of power for speed increase, you've got a max speed of 22, which is that's reasonable. It can sort of keep up with the ship.
Mm-hmm. Well, fortunately, the Sting torpedoes are single-turn arming weapons.
You'd like a disruptor, and they can be held, which is nice.
Agreed.
And the overloads can be held, which is nice.
Yeah, it helps things when the tactical situation doesn't go your way. You don't have to be terribly concerned about, okay, now you just wasted all that power, and you have to
Right.
you have to reuse.
That's
Go.
yeah. That's why I said it's a little better than a disruptor because you can hold it.
Right, right, because you have that flexibility then.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's a little more flexible than a disruptor. But of course, that ship is going to probably have a lot of trouble against a plasma armed ship because that's one of those circumstances where a shotgun plasma would be deadly.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, the B2 has what, one phaser? Or no, you said two phasers, right? Two phaser threes.
Two PW3s and they're
Yeah.
FX.
Yep. Yeah, so it has to try to run as quickly as possible, which is not that fast.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it would die pretty quickly. But fortunately, the Omega Octant doesn't have those kind of torpedoes.
What do you mean it doesn't have plasmas?
No, I didn't
Or
say it
wouldn't have
doesn't have shotguns.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there are no shotguns. That's true.
Closest thing is what was it? The Warbs? No, no. The ferries, I think it was.
Oh, yeah.
They can basically create the plasma Ks. I think it is the 10-point torps.
No, you're thinking of the Alundas.
The Lundas, okay, the
With the
Lundas.
5-point. They have a 5-point torpedo.
Yeah. Yeah, the Lundas is the one that had the very flexible weapons, right?
Yeah, it's a single turn arming weapon. It's got a 360 firing arc and it's a 5-point plasma.
Yeah.
So.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, to me this looks like it's a tough fight for the Hiver.
Oh yeah. I never properly balanced it, so I suspect the ship is a little on the light side.
Yeah, and it's one of those ones that I think you really have to play a lot, in my mind.
Yeah.
Just because of.
I mean.
Yeah, just mainly just because of it's like, as I said, like an Andromeda or Orion, in that after you get past the shield, there's not much ship there afterwards.
No, there isn't.
Which means
delicate.
Right, it's a very delicate ship, which means that you have to figure out how the way of causing much damage to your opponent and
survive
and surviving. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Man, I'm looking at the battle cruiser, and that's not exactly the most fun arcs when it comes to the torpedoes, because you got two in the FA, and then you have one LFL and one RFR. So unless you actually center line them, you can't get all four torps in arc. Though obviously,
but you can double overload.
Right, but then of course there's the LFR and LFL and RFR, where you can fire off to the sides, which can be helpful. Especially if you maybe for those you might do like a double overload.
Right. Sorry, I'm a little distracted here. I'm looking for something that I thought I had here. I have a medication that I'm looking for. It's time for me to take. It's one of these weird ones that you take every day for 7 days, but you only do that once. But you only take it for 1 week a month.
Right. You told me about that, which is, in my mind, an interesting medication.
Yeah, but it's time to start taking the first one it's August 1st.
Mm-hmm.
It's time to start taking it again.
Understood.
And I thought I had brought it out to Cincinnati with me, and I can't find the pill bottle.
That's not good. Okay, the wide
hang
out.
on.
I'm looking at the wide out angle phasers at the moment. Huh. They remind me more. Phaser ones remind me more of the phaser two to a certain degree, just because of the distribution. It's pretty flat.
Say that last part again.
The distribution is pretty flat. Like range 0 for wide angle phaser 1, it's 776655. Obviously, the average is a 6, but you don't know. It really doesn't go very high or very low.
Yes, the wide angle phasers.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how I meant it.
They're pretty consistent. And like for the phaser 3s, range 0, it's an auto kill. Well, sorry, not auto kill, automatic 4 points, unless of course there's EW and whatever. And range 1, it's 444, 333. And for range 2, 333, 222. Range 3, 222, 111. And range 4, 22, 110. 00. So again, that's the distribution is pretty darn even. It's not very high, not very low.
Well, that's the wide angle phasers for you. It does, on average, less damage than a standard phaser.
Right.
But if you insist on rolling only 6s, you're going to do better. But if you're rolling statistically average, you're going to do a little worse.
Yeah. So basically, it looks like in my mind, the Hiver's its optimum range is range 4.
Yes.
Because it just got into the new bracket, and that increases the damage. And of course, then there's the double overloads.
Yes.
So yeah, the maximum amount of damage possible is range 4.
Right. Yeah, that ship can actually kick ass at range 4.
Yeah, but that's always...
Well, not Billy.
Right.
Not Billy. I mean, 14-1 is not much.
Mm-hmm. The question is, of course, are the fighters a good deterrent? Because we all know...
What's that? Are the
Hiver fighters a good deterrent? Because what is the one thing that normally it becomes an issue for people? That is, you have a ship that's only direct fire weapons. You have no tertiary weapon. You have nothing to kind of quote unquote distract your opponent.
Right, distract your weapons. Yeah.
Right, distract your weapons, and like with the hydrant fighters, that will distract you. Because if you don't pay attention to them, you're in trouble. Yes. And that's why I was thinking about the Hiver fighters and whether they're powerful enough to be a distraction.
Well, yes and no. They're more of a sandpaper. Okay, let's say that I have an alpha strike against you, and you ignore the fighters. and now my ship is crippled, but you've taken quite a bit of damage between the fighters and the ship. You've probably taken more damage than you would from, say, a Klingon, because you did have 3 fighters unload on you. But now the Hiver is crippled, and the other guy is hurt. Okay. Or maybe even, more than hurt. But problem is that you've got 3 undamaged fighters that are now going to unload on you again.
Right.
And they're maneuverable enough that they might be able to get on down shield and hit you again.
Right. And you have to have a good amount of speed to actually chase them versus, like a normal shuttle whose max speed is speed 6.
Right. Well, these are fast. So
right.
If you ignore the fighters and give them a second shot at you, it can start to add up.
Right. Yeah, and actually that's one thing I was just thinking about, given that you gave them launch tubes, which all it means is that you have to, before your attack run, you have to make sure, one, you're not going too fast. Because...
why?
Yeah, I understand you can do the old follow-up attack afterwards. But the difficult part about that, normally, in my mind anyway, is that to do that, you leave yourself open to the possibility that your enemy will have the fighters hit a different shield.
Yeah. Except for the fact that if you're going to try to do that, there is a possibility of splitting the fighters up so you can't keep them. So one of them is going to get a down shield.
Right. Right. And obviously, if you're going faster than speed 14, you can, in theory, track do what they do with the hydrogen fusion fighters, which is tractor them and drag them along.
You could do that, yes. Of course, you only have 2 tractors and there's 3 fighters.
Right. That's why the whole when you split them up, that makes a lot more sense.
Right. Yeah. That's probably a very good tactic because they need the power for arming their weapons, not for moving. So, yeah, I'm wondering whether I should have given that ship a 3rd tractor just because. I know it's not, people will say, oh my God, you can't have a 3rd tractor on a tournament ship, but that one's kind of begging for it.
Understood. Barry, as we've mentioned multiple times, which is you have to try it out. See how it goes with 2. And because in theory, what you could actually do is don't launch them all. Only launch 2. Use them basically for additional firepower when you get to range 4, and then let them go. Because you have to let go of the tractor so they can fire at you as your opponent. Meaning,
right. But remember that they need their power. They launch with their weapons disarmed. They have to use their onboard energy, to charge their weapons.
Okay, but can't they fire on the same? Assuming that they had already prepped them while in the hangar bay, can't they still fire that same turn that they launched?
They can fire on the turn they launch. I think there's an 8 impulse delay between when you launch and when you can fire.
That's correct.
Just like any other fighter.
Right.
But but if you're arming everything, and then you're probably going speed 14.
Right.
Which is actually slower than a Sting 2, but not much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's 1 point. One. The Fusion fighters go speed 15.
Yes. I don't think you have 4 boost packs on fighters in tournaments.
No, you do not. That would be really bad.
Yeah. Of course, they get real vulnerable if you did that.
Right, exactly. It gets double damage.
Yeah.
So.
Excuse me.
Okay.
But yeah, Hivers could be interesting. It's certainly a different take on things.
Yeah, the funny part about this ship is, in my mind, it better keep its speed up. Just because I'm looking about the number of phasers. There aren't that many phasers.
No.
Which means the only way to avoid seeking weapons is going to be speed.
Yeah. The PW3s are horrible against seeking weapons.
Yeah.
But the ship is fast and maneuverable, so that helps. 2/3 mover in turn mode A. And basically, free hit, and then after that hit chance. So it's not like the Orion, which has 2 hits for free, but it's close to it.
Right. I'll ask if it was nimble, because that's why the Orion gets 2 hexes for free, because it's nimble.
Yeah. This is not a nimble ship, but it is just about nimble.
Mm-hmm. That's just interesting. Dang, man. Just rereading, what you already pointed out, which is if you put power on the fighters to speed, you can get those things up pretty fast.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But the problem is, of course,
if you put
fighters have a max acceleration of 7. But
that and the fact that, okay, let's say I put 4 points of power into movement, and let's say I launch at max speed, I can get her up to speed 30. Mm-hmm. Okay. But with 4 points of power into movement to keep up speed 30, I cannot arm a Sting torpedo. I can arm the phasers, but it basically,
agreed. It's kind of, at that moment, it's kind of pointless.
Right. Now, if I'm willing to deal with speed 26, I can get on turn 1, I can arm the phasers, and on turn 2, I can arm the Sting torpedo.
Mm-hmm. Right, exactly. That's one thing I was thinking about, which is the whole idea of launching them at fast speed for a distant opponent, and then have them close, and then as they close, the start of in the next turn, give up on the power for speed and go put the power towards arming the torpedo.
Yeah.
Actually, that's a question that I don't think I remember reading, which was, if the torps can be held on the fighters?
Standards can be, not overloads.
Okay. Yeah, because that's just weird if you think about it, which is actually discussing holding and energy things for a fighter.
Oh, I know. But the Hivers basically consider their fighters to be small ships, not
Oh, agreed.
not fighters.
Oh, agreed. That's
But I
why
think,
I mentioned how it's kind of like a combination fighter PF.
yeah, yeah, it's somewhere in between. It's less powerful than an interceptor, even, but
Yeah, oh geez, I forgot about those suckers. It's one of those ones that I know they exist. I just I looked at it and
never played them.
well, I definitely have never played them, but I looked at them, and as was noted in SFU history, they basically were a failed experiment. We said, basically these are too small. They need to be larger and have more power to make them effective. And then they increased the power and the size to being PF size. Then things worked out just fine.
Well, that was just because of the way they wrote it. But if you look at the BTVs of them, they might not have been that bad.
Well, if you're doing a BBV versus BBV battle, yeah, I agree there.
Yeah.
And I
yeah.
don't remember the scenarios. I'm willing to. I don't remember the scenarios, but I'm willing to bet at least one, if not at least one. There was at least one like historic scenario where they grabbed, they had the interceptors that they were using, that they had not play tested, but they had tested, and they had to use them in combat, for some defender, or possibly sold into it, as a defend kind of PF for defenders that were relatively cheap.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, because they were larger than the fighters that normally they can only local defense can buy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I guess if you have a tender, and it's like, do you want interceptors or do you want pseudo fighters? Duh, I'll take the pseudo fighters.
Oh, agreed.
But yeah. Oh well. I'm actually getting exhausted here.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to call it a night.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Well, Barry, in that case, why don't you get some rest, and I'll be here next week.
What race should we talk about next week?
Is there one you want?
Or what empire?
We can go for Yolanda.
Olanda, yeah,
Yolanda?
That's a good one.
Yeah, I think that'd be really exciting to do.
Yes, they're actually a traditional enemy of the Hivers.
Then, perfect segue.
Yes. Okay. Good night, everyone.
Okay, good night. I'm sorry, I got a little giggly this for a moment there because I was muting Barry after on the screen he already went away. So, yeah, with that, actually, we will wrap it up for this evening. Guys, was able to finally get things started. Hopefully, I can work out for those people who were hoping to listen in on the YouTube stream. I apologize for not working out the details earlier, and I'm not sure if I could have, just because of that they switched things around with removing Hangouts from YouTube, which I have been relying on for doing a YouTube live, and which is going to be interesting to the commenters in the YouTube channel, because I'm sure they'll notice, hey, well, they mentioned that, oh yeah, I should be using YouTube Live and have people in chat and all that kind of thing, and the chat no longer exists. I don't think the webcam stuff actually still keeps the chat. I know. Does anyone like YouTube? Actually, Drew, I might actually do something else. I might actually, because also I know I can do this, which is I do have a Twitch channel, so I could actually easily stream this on Twitch, and I think that'd be perfectly fine. I would still probably be co-broadcasting both on TalkShoe and on Twitch. Twitch actually has a chat room, and I could do that too. And I still got to figure out a conference room. Because the one thing I was thinking about this the other day. I'm not sure if I mentioned it or not. I think I might mention last week, which is I came to the realization that if I replace TalkShoe with say freeconference.com, my understanding is basically TalkShoe uses freeconference.com. So if I leave TalkShoe because of I can't have a hard time dialing in, it's because I can't dial into freeconference.com, which means I shouldn't be using them anyway. So replace it with somebody else. Because I know people. I'm not sure, Drew, if you know about it. I know Dave and Russ do because I've mentioned it multiple times. Which is one thing I really like is the ability to have people dial in, and actually chat, and not just have like Barry, who in theory I could have him. We could basically be co-host, and we don't have to worry about that. Now, obviously, the number of people that actually dial in over the years have gone down, and that might get to the point where it's kind of pointless to actually have people dial in, and call me, and I might just have to have it more like you have me, and then if like Steve Cole wants to join us, I will say, hey Steve, you want to join us? Just tell me. I'll give you a call, and we'll get that all set up, and we can have kind of a co-hosting kind of thing. So we'll just have to wait and see. So I am Paul Franz. With that, I am Paul Franz, and I bid you a good night.